Hi there, this is Anna from Anna Aspnes Designs. In this video tutorial, I want to share some of the steps I take in putting my photo-inspired pages together. And when I talk about photo-inspired, it is my way of pocket scrapbooking an artsy approach to project life, and essentially a place to organize and store all of those photos that I take throughout the week using my iPhone. So in this video tutorial, I'm going to walk you through my photo selection and organization, my product selection, and then I am going to work through actually putting those photos together with the photo-inspired digital product range available at the Anna Aspnes Design store at Scraps. So let's get started. Step 1. Photo selection and organization. First of all, you're going to want to download your photos to your computer, and I am working on a PC currently in Windows 7, and I have created a folder in which I store all of my photos. I then have subfolders for each of the years, and I have the 3 most recent years visible within this folder. I also have an archives folder which has all previous years, so all of my photos are stored chronologically by year and then also by month. If I go ahead and click on this 2017 folder, you'll see that I have more subfolders according to the month, and I like to add the alphabet characters to the beginning of each file name so that my folders appear in order. So we've got January, February, March. I'm currently working in August, so I am going to access this file, and you can see that I have all of my photos in this particular folder. I used to keep my photos according to date, but as I've gone back through my archives over the years, it's become increasingly more difficult to view the photos, and so now I just kind of dump them all into the monthly folder, and then I create more subfolders as I need to. So I have this food folder, which is a personal project that I have been working on that helps organize all of the food photos that I have been taking. And then I also have my photo-inspired folders, and you can see I have week 31, week 32 and 33, and then week 34. And so week 31 is the one that goes from the 31st of July through the 6th of August. And if I click on that, you can see that I have all of the photos that I used to create that photo-inspired page. The number of photos that I aim for can vary, can be anywhere from 10 through to about 20 photos. I kind of find that about 12 to 15 is ideal. And then I have weeks 32 and 33. There are situations where I have fewer photos for each week, and so I will group 2 weeks together so that a double page spread will cover 2 weeks of photos. So this will be the next page that I work on. And so the numbers are according to the dates. I use my calendar down in the bottom right hand corner here, and if I just click back here to August, you can see that these numbers, these dates, correlate to the dates in August. And my photo-inspired project this year runs from Monday through Sunday. So for weeks 32 and 33, we have Monday the 7th of August going through to the 20th of August. Each year I don't necessarily pick the same dates. I've gone from a Saturday through a Friday. Doesn't really matter. It generally depends on how the week starts at the beginning of the year. As long as you kind of stay consistent throughout the year, it doesn't really matter which days you pick to go through. It kind of depends when you consider your week to begin. I always think that my week begins on a Monday. And then we have week 34, which goes from the 21st to the 27th. And then we need to create a new folder for week 35. So I'd create a new folder, and then I would add week 35 to that label so that I know what week we're working with. And then I'd go back down to my calendar, and the last date we were working with was the 27th. So if I go back to August and I look at the 27th, then our next week is going to be 28th through the 3rd of September. So I'm going to basically right click and rename that folder and just add those dates. So I'm going to add in the 28th to the 4th. And then once I have that folder, I am going to switch the view. Currently I have a view of the large icons. I'm going to go down to details. And what this does is it allows me to see the date of when these photos were taken. And so essentially I am going to be going down and I'm looking for all of my photos that were taken between the 28th and the 4th of September. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here, and I'm going to select all of these 28th photos. And some of them are going to be mixed up, partly because I end up with other people's photos, including my husband's and Ella's and sometimes Luke's. So it is going to be dependent on that. So I kind of have to go through and establish which of those photos I want to use. So I'm going to select all of those and copy them. I'm not going to cut them, I'm just going to copy them and then paste them into our week 35 folder. And so essentially what you're doing is you're creating duplicate copies of those photos. So now I'm going to go back to that week 35 photo, and you want to switch back to either extra large or large icons so that you can see the visuals. And then from here I'm going to basically narrow down this selection of photos to perhaps 10 to 15, possibly maximum 20. I've got lots of duplicates here. I have some photos that have become Instagram stories, which I like to include in my pages these days. Lots of food photos. I definitely don't need this many food photos, so I'm just literally going to go through and decide which photos I want to include in my pages. So I've whittled down my photo selection to these, and I've actually realized that I named this folder the 28th to the 4th when it should have been the 28th to the 3rd, because the 4th was a Monday. So I'm going to go back in there and I'm going to rename that. And then that also requires me to go back and look at the dates. So I'm going to go back to my details and remove all of these photos here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those, and then go back, and that actually helps us whittle down our photos even further. So you can see now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, 15. So that's the perfect number of photos for my photo inspired pages. In the next section, we're going to look at the digital art supplies that we're going to use in order to create our photo inspired double page spread. Step 2, choosing and using a photo inspired template. Once we've determined how many photos we want to use, we need to look at the orientation of those photos, or at least the orientation in which those images could go into a template. For example, this one here cannot really go into a landscape format because it very much fills this portrait orientation, while this one here could very well go into a square frame or could be cropped down to a landscape frame without losing the story of the photo. Another thing that I like to consider too is whether photos are in pairs or in multiples, and that's if there are one or more photos that tell a sequence or a story. So for example, these 4 images here, all tell the same story, and it would be preferable to place all 4 of those images together, perhaps in a quad frame. So that's a frame that has 4 photo spaces. So just a few things to keep in mind as you go and look for a template. And so the template search is the next item on my list in this process, and I like to do this by going to the Scrap store. I like to go to the Anna Aspnes Designs store. I go down to templates, and then I click on FotoInspired Templates, and then this lists all of the templates that I have available to me. Now, you may not have all of the templates that are in the store, and that would be perfectly expected. So what I would do is I would create a folder on your computer that has the thumbnails of each of the templates in it. That way you can look through them quickly and find a template that would be appropriate for the photos that you have selected. So for example, I'm looking at this one. This one has, if I click on it, this one has a quad frame here, but not necessarily enough photos to fit our images. So I'm really going to look through, and it takes a little while to scroll through and find the best fit. There's another one with a quad frame here with a few more photo spaces, so that might work quite well. There is this one here. Also keep in mind that when you are using these templates, you also have the option to substitute out these larger frames and masks for additional frames and masks, and I'll show you how to do that. This one could be a possibility. I like to select the image, I like to select the product, and then go in and count the number of frames. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that kind of has too many for our 20 photos. I kind of would be looking for 24. You want to have a few spaces to fit in some artistry. So this one might be perfect. This is number 52. So I'm going to go ahead and try that one. I am going to then navigate to my digital art supplies and go to my FotoInspired folder, and then I'm going to go to my templates, and I'm going to access the templates that I want to use, and I'm going to select both of them and then drag them into my Photoshop workspace so that both of them open. It's going to ask me if I want to update the text layers because I'm working in a newer version of Photoshop from when these templates were created, so I'm going to go ahead and click update, and it's just going to update the font to the more modern version. You'll notice that these 2 templates are delivered in 12 by 12 inch format so that you get each side of the double page spread into separate files. This is so that you have the ability to be able to use these templates as single pages, or you can combine them together to create a coordinating double page spread. Now, it is possible to create a double page spread by filling each one of these separate files individually, but I like to create a single file onto which I move all of the layers so that I can create the double page spread as a whole. This allows me to create a more cohesive look to my layout. So I'm going to go to File, New, and then I already have a 24 by 12 inch at 300 ppi preset, but essentially what you're going to want to do is to have a width of 24, which is double the width of one of these single pages, and then a height of 12, and you're going to make sure that your resolution is at 300 pixels per inch to ensure good print quality. So I'm just going to go ahead and select that preset, and you can see that those measurements have now been entered into those boxes, and I'm going to click create, and that will create our double page spread. I'm just going to zoom out so that you can see the entire canvas. Let's move these panels out the way, and then you want to make sure that you have your rulers checked, and then I like to create a guide that goes down the center of my canvas to define the left hand side from the right hand side of my page. And then I am going to move the layers from each of the template files onto our new canvas. And to do this, I'm going to select the very top layer in one of the files, hold down my shift button on my keyboard, and then select the background layer. And it doesn't matter whether you place the A template first or second. I actually like to switch it up. You can also rotate these templates by 90 degrees, either left or right, to give them a different appearance. We're just going to use them as is today, but just a few options for you as you are using these templates. You can get a lot more mileage out of one of these single templates by making simple rotations and customizations. So I'm just going to drag that onto our canvas and then move it onto the right side of the page. You can nudge these layers into position by using the arrow keys on your keyboard, and then I'm going to remove the background layer. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other side of the template. This time I'm going to select the background layer just because it's already selected, hold down the shift button, and then select that top layer. And then with that move tool selected, I'm going to drag all of those layers onto my canvas. And you want to make sure that the layers are ordered correctly. So ideally you want your second lot of layers to appear at the top of the layers panel. So I'm just going to drag those up to the top so that we have all of our first layers at the very lower end of the layers panel, and then the second lot of layers at the top of the layers panel. And again, move those into position. And then I remove the background layer. And the reason I move the background layer in the first place is to allow me to place all those layers squarely on my canvas, and then remove the background layer like that. So now we have our layout. We can go ahead and close out those original files. It's going to ask me if I wanted to save them because we've moved some of those layers, and we are just going to ignore that request. And then from here it's just a matter of populating the various masks in our template.